Robots Radio presents...
Hi there, and welcome to the Hidden Pixels podcast, a show highlighting those gaming stories you might have missed on your first playthrough. I'm your host, Sebastian Nazaro. On this episode, we have something special for you, our first return trip to a game series. We're going back to where Hidden Pixels began, the Fallout universe. For those of you who forget, that means we're in a post-apocalyptic wasteland after a nuclear war. There are all sorts of strange people and creatures about, so be prepared for anything. The story we're exploring today takes place only a few decades after that Great War. We'll learn about the formation of the Brotherhood of Steel, a group of former soldiers who are struggling with changing goals in their little corner of West Virginia called Appalachia. And to top it all off, we have some special guests voicing our episode's characters, all from the Robots Radio podcast network. I hope you enjoy the change of pace, as it was a lot of fun to put together. If you like what you hear, consider leaving us a review on iTunes, supporting our Patreon page, which also has some awesome benefits for you, and saying hi on Twitter or Instagram. I'm always looking to connect with you listeners, so feel free to reach out with feedback or support. Okay, enough rambling, let's dive in.
I know most of you love America, the good old red, white, and blue. But those of us that served at Mariposa know something. America failed. Not because its citizens who lived clean lives filled with hardship in a never-ending war. And certainly not because of its fighting men and women, God bless them. No. Its leaders failed us. Senators, generals, presidents, all those bastards. Their failure almost destroyed all mankind. But I look around here and I see survivors. People too stubborn, too damn ornery to die. We've fought and we've endured, and finally we have a small patch of safety. But having home isn't enough. We need something more. What we need is purpose. But we cannot look to the America of old for that purpose. We have to build our own. So tonight, as we break bread together, let us forge together something new. Something strong. Something we can be proud of. Something we can build upon. We'll preserve what's best and what's come before, and use it. And one day, we will reclaim what was lost. Let us forge a Brotherhood of Steel.
Lieutenant Taggarty could still recall Captain Maxon's address from the night before, but was confused about the meaning behind it. She had been an Army Ranger for years before the bombs fell. Her team was made from some of the best soldiers the region had ever seen, earning them the nickname of Taggarty's Thunder. But it sounded like it was all going to change. Maxon was her commanding officer after the bombs fell, but it seemed like he had more in mind than just keeping the status quo. He had sent a follow-on memo that laid out his ideas for this new Brotherhood of Steel. It seemed thought through, but it could change everything. She crossed the room and picked up the comms receiver, punching Maxon's number into the machine. After a beat, she heard him pick up.
Captain, a Brotherhood of Steel? What's that even mean? The men over here are confused.
We need to do something bold. We can't just stay the U.S. Army. What's going to happen? And this is only a matter of time. Is some general or some goddamn politician is going to exit a vault and start ordering us around. And worse, they'll order some grunt to start the whole damn cycle again. Another wave of nuclear death, and if that's not enough, they'll do it again. You know they will, Lizzie. It ends with us. We won't let them.
I understand, but a brotherhood? Knights? I'm supposed to call you what? Elder?
Words have power, Lizzie. They build identity. They take on a meaning if you keep using them, even if it didn't exist to begin with. It was the knights and scribes after the fall of Rome that protected what was left of Western civilization. So we are the new knights, and our role is similar. But we'll need more than names. We'll need new traditions, our own, mythology. Something people can believe to their core.
Is this necessary?
What else can I do? Declare myself president? Make you a senator? Look around. Something's killing us more than the rads and freaks out there. Depression. People have lost everyone, every goddamn soul. Wives, kids, loved ones, heck, even the mailman. We need to replace it with something, otherwise people's souls will wither. We'll be little more than walking dead men.
I'll do my best to see that the orders are carried out, sir.
Give it time, Lizzie. People have a hunger to believe in something. Just let them work their way to it.
Taggarty hung up the comms, not really knowing what to think. The elder definitely had a vision. She had known this man for years, becoming friends even. He was always determined to lead his troops to the next level, pushing them from good to great. He expected the best from his soldiers, and often got it. Taggarty led her team the same way. The Thunder had been a close unit before the bombs, and afterward they grew only closer. She was closest with the senior members on the team, Moreno and De Silva. They were both elite soldiers, but also honest-to-God, hard-working, good-natured people. They looked after the team like a family, and they always set an example. Sergeant Wilson, or Knight Wilson now, apparently, was the training coordinator, knowing exactly how to get the most out of the team. Esposito was the muscle, a hulking beast of a man, and Weber was kind of the odd duck. Loyal as he could be, but he was definitely quick to emotion and a little rash under pressure. Taggarty sat wondering how each individual was taking the news. She'd need to rely on them more than ever with this change, especially given the last words on the memo from Maxon. All it said was, "And don't forget, recruit, recruit, recruit." Marge, I keep recording these, hoping one day I can make it home. I found these Brotherhood of Steel guys outside of Grafton. Heard about them. Some weird military cult. Seeing them in action made me... I remember when my unit would roll in like that, all shock and awe. Raiders didn't stand a chance. One of them, Knight Moreno, he noticed me, came over and chatted. Nice guy. Really made me rethink the stuff I've been told. It came out I was in the cavalry at Anchorage, and he said that they had a place for me, Marge. I'm sorry. I've made it maybe 400 miles since the bombs. At this rate, Texas might as well be a million miles further. I need a unit, a place to belong. I feel like the Brotherhood might be it. Tex placed the holodisc down and laid back on his bed, sighing heavily as his head hit the stiff pillow. He missed her so much. That much was true. But he wasn't going to survive much longer without belonging to something bigger. For the first time since the bombs fell, Tex finally felt a sense of community. He looked over to the other side of the bunkhouse, where Moreno's bed stood. The warped boards and leaky roof of Bunkhouse Alpha were highlighted by the flickering lamplight. That's when Tex noticed a letter sitting next to the lamp on Moreno's bedside table.
This whole transition is taking some getting used to, but I thought you could appreciate this update. In the past, if a mission or patrol was cleared for combat performance chems, the usage rate was near 100%. But now, half the time or more, the chems are returned afterwards. There's some other stuff, too. You hear laughter more. Sometimes it's at the expense of the new rules, but people just seem happier. I think it's a sense of purpose. We know we're going somewhere. There's a plan. For De Silva, I think she just loves the new patch. Now, you can't say I never have good news for you, Paladin.
Tex put the letter down, relieved over what he just read. He knew that the Brotherhood was a new organization made up of ex-Army Rangers, but he didn't realize that they were adjusting to the change too. Luckily, it looked like things were going better than expected. Everyone was focused on moving forward as one unit, and it looked like everyone was on board. Another memo from Maxon. They seem to be coming every day now, with new instructions on how to organize and run the Brotherhood. Sometimes there were long, detailed recaps of where he's been in his journeys. Others were short and formal, directives that were to be carried out immediately. This was one of the latter. Taggarty looked it over twice before processing. All it contained were orders for the Appalachia division of the Brotherhood to clear Huntersville of the super mutant threat. It was strange to her to see something so momentous summarized in so few words. She sighed as she sat down. This was the first large-scale operation by the Brotherhood since the bombs, but it was expected. The huge humanoid creatures known as super mutants appeared around the same time the world went to shit. Who knew whether they were the result of radiation or just a coincidence? Either way, the beasts needed to be dealt with. The problem was that her team probably couldn't take them on alone. Even with the new recruits, they'd have to reach out to the civilians over in the responders to bolster their forces. Otherwise, there was no chance they'd clear out the mutant threat. Taggarty picked up her pen and started to write a plea for an alliance, hoping that the civvies would lend them a hand in the upcoming battle. Over in Bunkhouse Beta, Weber was at his desk, furiously writing an entry in his diary. It was late, 3 days after Taggarty got the word that they were to attack Huntersville, and Weber was still fuming.
I bide my time, and I bite my lip. I just joined the service on my birthday, and it was the proudest day of my life when I became a ranger. Almost as proud as when I was tapped to be in Taggarty's Thunder. And now, squires, knights, paladins? What the hell? I try not to roll my eyes. I try to never let my unit down. But sometimes on watch, I think about leaving. Pick a direction, I think west. Things have got to be better out west. But I don't know too well what waits out there. So whatever stupid new rules come out, I bite my lip and say whatever they want. But in my heart, I'm a ranger, and not even the lieutenant can take that away from me.
Weber paused and shook his head. He ripped out the page, folded it, and placed it in his pocket. If he was really thinking about heading west, he shouldn't leave that page lying around. He shut off his lamp and rolled into bed, wondering if he really had the guts to pull this off. Marge. It's been a couple of weeks. I had 3 squares, showers, working lights. Camp Venture's got power. Proper power, Marge. I'd almost feel human if it weren't for the senior night and the training. I graduated basic pretty easy back in the day, and I know I may be a bit softer, but Wilson's an Army Ranger. Or well, was one, and the drills they're making us do. But as beat up and as worn out as I feel, that first time getting back into the 51B, you can call yourself a knight, a paladin, grand poobah of the Roman Empire. I don't care. Just don't take my power armor away. They're rushing training. A big battle with super mutants happening? Good. I got some aggression I want to unleash. Tex flicked off the holodisc and lamp next to his bed, but he couldn't sleep. The battle for Huntersville was the next morning, and he couldn't wait to get started. And now, just a quick break from the story to hear from another Robots Radio Network podcast.
Have you given Robots Roundtable a shot yet? This is the new show where the hosts from the Robots Radio Network podcasts, all of your favorite hosts, get together every week and they talk a little bit more deeply about some of the things going on in the games and the things that they're enjoying recently. So if you're looking for a fun show talking about games, entertainment with all of your favorite hosts, and also a really wacky competition at the end of each episode, give Robots Roundtable a shot. It's available on iTunes and Spotify and basically everywhere.
Thanks. And if you want to sponsor the show, feel free to contact us at hiddenpixelspodcast@gmail.com. And now, back to the story. It was a clear day the morning of the Huntersville operation, with a slight breeze blowing the dust and dirt back and forth. Taggarty stood on a hill outside the city, hidden by the brush and trees. She could see some movement in between the buildings, but not much. It would be an urban warfare assault, and while she knew her troops were up for it, she had her doubts about the new Brotherhood they all belonged to. She looked at her watch and grimaced. They were waiting for the responders to signal them from the west side of the city. One flare shot at 10 sharp, but that was 15 minutes ago. Taggarty knew this was going to happen. The civvies had agreed to help in the fight, attacking from the west, while the Brotherhood would handle the east, pinching the mutants in and crushing them from both sides. But who knew if they'd actually show? Truth be told, she still got butterflies before attacks like these. The inevitable sweat and adrenaline and bloodshed. But she had faith they'd pull through and complete the mission. She motioned to the troops waiting in the nearby area, their power armor hidden by the dead leaves. They began their assault on the town. Everything started out well for the Brotherhood. Taggarty's troops flowed through the streets, rolling over the surprised super mutants like fusion-powered bulldozers. But as soon as she began to think that they were going to cruise right through the city, they hit a wall of enemies. For every wave of mutants they eliminated, it seemed like a bigger one replaced it, all flowing from the Western Front. That same Western Front that the responders were supposed to be attacking. Taggarty took cover behind a dumpster, 100 yards away from the mutants. De Silva and Weber were with her. They were all pinned down by minigun fire, the super mutants not even letting them poke their heads out for a visual. Shit, there were just too many of them. Where were the responders? De Silva looked just as frustrated, her helmet lost somewhere in the chaos of the fray. But Weber looked scared. Really scared. Like panicking on the inside, ready to cry scared. He had been new to the Thunder right before the war, and this was unfortunately the first action he'd ever seen. Taggarty went to place a reassuring arm on his shoulder, but stopped as their eyes met. And it was in that moment that she knew what he was going to do. Weber jumped out of their cover, startling De Silva and running as fast as he could away from the battle. De Silva recovered quickly and also jumped up, trying to pull him back down. Everything went into slow motion for Taggarty, Weber running awkwardly away in his power armor, De Silva reaching after him, her wind-swept black hair suddenly stained with scarlet as a bullet entered the back of her skull and out the other end. Her body kept moving forward, propelled by momentum, until it crashed into the dirt with a thud. Taggarty screamed. She knew it was unprofessional. She knew that it wasn't befit a career soldier such as herself. But she had known De Silva for years, pre- and post-war. They had gone through everything together. They were sisters in this macho male-driven culture. And now she was gone. Taggarty saw red. She grabbed her assault rifle and turned on the super mutants. She didn't care about the mission, or the Brotherhood, or anything else at this point. She just wanted to see all those green bastards die. She got about 10 feet before she noticed that the mutants weren't facing her anymore. In fact, they were all rushing in the other direction. She took a couple down with 2 impeccable shots, but the others kept running away. As she came to her senses, she could now hear the battle being waged on the other side of town. The responders had finally arrived in full force and were drawing the mutants away from the Brotherhood troops. Taggarty took a few more shots at the retreating mutants, allowing her men to push forward past her. When the battle had moved on, she walked back slowly to De Silva's body. Taking off her helmet, she closed her eyes and paused at the sight of the corpse. She stooped down to one knee over the body and placed a hand on her friend's still back.
Before the bomb, generals told their troops that they served a higher purpose, that they fought with honor. It was patriotic bullshit. It led our best and most deserving into the slaughterhouse. Never again. In this new world, a CO has a duty to treat each and every soldier's life under his command as sacred. And if a soldier has to pay that final price, then there must be an accounting. In front of his brothers, his sisters, and his elders. Squire de Silva was a good soldier, a staunch ally who never flinched in the face of danger. She was an unwavering friend. Her sacrifice will be remembered. This is our solemn duty to her.
Tagarty bowed her head as the broadcast ended. She didn't know what to think anymore. They succeeded in their mission, which was the objective. They actually didn't lose that many casualties in total. But De Silva... Tagarty became choked up at the thought again, but hid her emotions. She couldn't let anyone see her like this. It was all this goddamn change. She couldn't do anything but feel helpless. It didn't help that Max had sent over the next orders while issuing De Silva's eulogy broadcast. With the super mutants gone, they were off to take care of the next threat to Appalachia, the Scorch Beasts. Tagarty shook her head in disbelief, the other bane of the Brotherhood's existence. She wouldn't have believed that they were real if the scouts hadn't been reporting more and more sightings. Huge bat-like flying beasts that spread nuclear fallout? This was a whole nother level of ridiculousness. But Maxon also wanted them to close Camp Venture and head down to the old Allegheny Asylum. Fort Defiance, he was calling it. Her men had scouted it out a couple of times, and it seemed fully intact. It made sense logistically with its position and fortifications. The old asylum should serve as a great staging point for the next mission. But to fully abandon their initial home in Appalachia? That was going to be a hard sell to the crew. She trusted Maxon as a leader and a friend, but she really hoped he was right on this one. She needed some stability after this. Bee paced the floor before finally settling on the right words to say in the letter.
Tommy, Knight Wilson says we're deploying tomorrow. Graduation's early. Fort Defiance needs men now, apparently. I know you don't approve of my decision to come here, but everyone's got the Brotherhood wrong. There's an army of scorched in the bog. It's not lies. I've seen the Scorch Beasts with my own eyes. You should come. We need you. It's hard to sleep knowing I'm heading in. Training's one thing, but we'll be fighting for real in days. Makes sense to me. Defiance is the old Allegheny Asylum. Lord knows, we have to be crazy to go there. I know it won't mean anything to you, Tommy, but ad Victoriam. For all our sakes, ad Victoriam. B.
I remember the night we first arrived, half frozen to death in the blizzard, teeth chattering. These cabins seemed like one of those resorts you'd see on television. Those were some tough times, but the cabins were home. Some holes sprang in the roof, we'd get a bucket. If a beam fell down, we'd just prop it back up. But the Paladin says they're just too falling apart to keep fixing. It's going to be cramped in the new space, but it'll be nice to have 4 good walls and a roof. But I'll miss my time in Bunkhouse Alpha.
Moreno clicked off the holodisc and looked around the empty bunkhouse. He closed his eyes for just a second and then exited the building. They were headed to Fort Defiance that night, and he knew that the Brotherhood in Appalachia would be changed forever. I want to thank, in order of appearance, Tom, or Robots, from the Fallout Lorecast, and a bunch of other shows, who played Elder Maxon, my lovely wife Christina, from Hidden Pixels, I guess, who played Taggarty, Duke, from Out of the Vault podcast and the Good Morning Duke Twitch show, as Moreno, Jameson, from the DL Weekly Gaming News podcast, as Weber, and Ken, from the Chad, a Fallout 76 Story podcast, as B. You all brought life to this story through your portrayals of these interesting and complex characters, and it really made a difference. Please go check out their shows and streams for everything Fallout related. Lore, news, storytelling, gameplay, and just fun. It's all there. Links to everyone's shows are in the show notes and on our website, hiddenpixelspodcast.com. The more I explore Fallout 76, the more I see it as an exercise in storytelling. When released in the fall of 2018, it was met with confusion, frustration, and hesitation due to the lack of traditional non-playable characters. The players were encouraged to make their own stories via their group of friends exploring Appalachia. But people took that to mean that there was no developer-made story in the game, and they couldn't have been more wrong. Every corner of this map involves holodiscs or letters or scrawled notes that give glimpses into the lives of those trying to survive. Those trying to rebuild their lives or starting something new in this post-war world. Or those just trying to reconnect with the ones that they've lost. Heading to Camp Venture in the game is also an experience. One could simply just plow through to the main objective in the camp, ignoring all the other rooms and the details hidden away. But taking the time to explore reveals this story of the Brotherhood Foundation in Appalachia. And even more so, it reveals the soldiers stationed there and how they coped with that change. It's a real story of human reaction to rapidly changing circumstances, something we can relate to even today in a different place and time. This storytelling technique not only encourages exploration, but it also slows the player down to seep in the details. I don't believe the story would have as great an impact if an NPC came up to you and explained it all. Hearing the voices and reading the notes while in the camp provides an impactful experience that encompasses what Fallout 76 is all about. Unconventional storytelling at its best. Next episode, we're exploring another game that experiments with that unconventional storytelling idea. Hollow Knight. Be prepared to see that game over screen over and over and over again. Until then, consider supporting our Patreon or writing a review on iTunes. Both are great ways to show your support for the show. Or join the Robots Radio Discord channel, where we're all having discussions about Fallout, Elder Scrolls, and everything else gaming. Thanks for listening. You really are the best. And I'll catch you next time. This episode of the Hidden Pixels podcast was written, recorded, and produced by me, Sebastian Azaro. All episode music information can be found in the show notes or on our website, hiddenpixelspodcast.com. If you like what you heard, please consider showing your support on our Patreon page at patreon.com/hiddenpixelspodcast. Every bit helps to continue to share these hidden stories. And if you like what you heard, or even if you didn't, please rate and review the show on any major podcast streaming platform. And find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as Hidden Pixels Podcast, or on our Discord channel, where we're continuing the stories after the story. Links to all are in our show notes as well. And as always, thanks for listening.